Hey guys, and welcome to another tier list. The date is January 23rd, and we're looking at the patch about a week after it was released. And we're gonna make a tier list, which is pretty much in line with my predictions, but it's nice to see that it roughly shaped out that way. We're gonna be grouping them between tier S, top tier, aka, oh my god, so OP. A, strong, B, situational or average, kind of depends on the map. And then C, untapped potential. The weakest perhaps among the bunch, statistically speaking, but perhaps either we or the developers need to just give them a little bit of that extra lovin'. But probably deserved. Okay, tier S, A, B, C, let's go. Winning the #1 spot of most banned, most overpowered, highest win rate in tournaments and in the ladder is Mongols. The developers had a great idea when they made a number of nerfs to the Mongols, including outposts costing more, and of course the starting wood being lowered for Mongols. Outposts now cost the same amount as other civilizations. But the reason that the Mongols are still broken are a number of different things, including the feudal age landmark Yam network, giving bonus movement speed to economy and to army. And that aura stays with them even when they leave the vicinity of the Deerstones or the outpost. Then there's the Khan, who is kind of like a spring-on cavalry back. At Castle Age, he has 12 damage, 7 range, and something like 300 health. And when he dies, he comes back for free. I thought we learned from StarCraft 2, swarm hosts and brood lords and infested terrans, that free units is neither fun nor very fair. The Khan is a unique mechanic though, but perhaps he needs to be toned down just a bit. No range in Dark Ages, and perhaps not quite as much damage or health as he has. And maybe there should be a price for training him back. After all, it's not like Mongols can't scout when the Khan is dead. They can make scouts like anybody else. They just have an extra strong annoying one that needs many units to respond, and they can never catch him because he's so fast. The worst Mongol players there are, they usually lose the Khan stupidly to town center, spears or cavalry, but if you control him well, he never dies, and he always harasses villager lines. Then there's the step redoubt that gives 50% bonus generation of resources when it's gathering gold, which is incredibly powerful. The Mongols can also still double produce from the Ovu for their stone value equivalent of a unit's cost. And this gives them a lot of extra momentum at any point in the game that they really choose. Don't feel bad if you're a Mongol player, because it's a civ like any others and it's more of the developer's fault. I personally avoid them for now because I don't feel as proud to play with them as with some others, and they're sporting about a 56-58% win rate on the ladder, and even more than that in the EGC Winner Series $20,000 tournament that's happening this month, and that's concluding as we speak. Something like 70% win rate. So the Mongols are still very overtuned. We're getting another patch in February that's probably going to address them further. The Mongols can also build mangonels in the field. Only Abbasid can do this as well. So they have a lot of unique special things, and the only sacrifice they really make is not being able to make walls, which is a big drawback, but it doesn't measure up to their bonuses. Okay, let's go to tier A. I'm gonna put 3 civilizations there, and it's the Delhi, the French, and the Rus. The order is not 100% clear to me, nor necessarily that important when you consider there's many different maps. I'll explain why each of them are so strong right now. Delhi received a number of bug fixes and buffs that has skyrocketed them to a top 4. I did predict this and I've been having a lot of success. You can see that I've gone top 25 and top 30 and top 40 in recent times, partially because I got better, but I've also been an avid Delhi player, so I've kind of been training with training weights, and now they're off, now that the Civ is much less bugged than before. Delhi is strong because of free economic upgrades and early pressure via the Sanctity upgrade in Feudal Age that allows them to get sacred sites. If they prepare well and they make outposts at the sacred sites, they can make an opponent need to spend an insane amount of effort and resources to push Delhi off of the sacred sites. That generates a lot of gold for Delhi. The special unit elephants are able to make quite an impact on Castle Age battles. Sometimes they're hard to deal with. The Tower War elephants' main counters are spears and horsemen, both which get killed pretty badly by men-at-arms and mangonels, men-at-arms or spears. So there are good counters to those, and the elephants can be part of a strong backbone of an army. Additionally, with the sheer amount of scholars that are on the field for a typical Delhi player, the moment they get to Castle Age, expect them to snap up all the relics on the map, generating even more free gold, and even being able to pull off some mass conversion shenanigans. The free upgrades, the sacred sites, and the amount of scholars that they have, the free blacksmith and the economy upgrades altogether make the Delhi a really strong mid-tier faction that doesn't rely on Imperial to get good, like the Chinese for instance. And they finally have working spears, so they function. And they also benefited a lot from the horseman armor upgrade. As Delhi has no special units in feudal, they are now able to counter enemy archers a little bit better with a spam of horsemen. Being able to make one building count for two, with a scholar inside the military buildings, also saves them some wood when trying to pump a bunch of archers, spears, or horsemen. The French. The French are also considered strong. They have many small economic advantages. All of their resource drop-off buildings are half price. They build villages faster from a single TC than any other civilization. They have cheaper research. They have cheaper units when built around a keep. And they have a special feudal unit, the early knight, the best knight that there is in feudal and castle, because they can heal themselves out of combat. And that gets them the edge in many trades. And a fast multitasking player can utilize French to do lots of economic disruption, force idle time on villagers, or even kill some villagers. And when they're going Knights Archer, they can even win a straight up battle, put the pressure to the opponent, and try to thwart whatever plan that civilization may have. French has a pretty decent castle in Imperial Age as well, with their guild hall being able to tap large amounts of resources that they store up in their H3 landmark. And while I think the Royal Institute with the siege weaponry is a little bit lackluster, as their version of a cannon, the Bombard, or the Royal Cannon, isn't really that much better than a normal cannon. It does one-shot springolds, and it is like a free siege workshop that makes somewhat better versions of. It's nothing to get too excited about, and Imperial's generally not what French aim for, though they do get some extra special cavalry upgrades for their knights. So overall French, a really solid mid-range faction that neither excels in Dark Ages like Mongols, nor Imperial like Chinese and Holy Roman, but they're really strong in dictating the pace of the game. As the aggressor, they can unbalance an opponent. Then there's the Rus. The Rus was long, the game's been out for so long. The Rus has been the number 2 civ behind Mongols for quite some time. Their overperforming horse archers allowed them to turn off their brain and make only one unit the whole game. And the fact that incendiary arrows was bugged and overperformed, doing 40% bonus damage instead of 20%, roughly, that led them to be able to make mass horse archer with lots of range, mobility, damage, and survivability. The nerfs have been good and targeted. Horse archers were nerfed, a bug was removed, incendiary arrows is normal, their attack speed is lower. Pro Scouts has been nerfed, which has affected Mongols, French, and Rus all a bit of a nerf to those three. So that's been really good targeted balanced nerfs. But Rus had so much more that wasn't contingent upon making mass horse archers. And just making one unit and never really respecting the counter triangle. They still have the longest range springolds with their special Imperial upgrades. They still have a fast expansion possibility for 200 gold instead of 300 stone via the Golden Gate. Other civs that want to buy a fast expansion at a second town center, they need to spend 520 gold to buy 300 stone. Rus can do it for 200 gold. And it comes out of nowhere, as an opponent can't see you taking that stone gathering with villagers. Boom, suddenly you've got a second TC, which is very deceptive. They have the early knight, not nearly as good as the French early knight, but still a really solid option when it comes to extended feudal battles. They have bonus food generation, bonus gold via the bounty, and they still have bonus wood generation via the wooden fortress. Rus is a super solid faction that is still strong, and the one thing that I didn't mention yet that makes them even better, especially at high level and tournament level, the ability to mass produce scouts from hunting cabins, which allows them to win out very early on against many different civs, either on land or on water maps. And by water, I mean hybrid water. They're also one of the best civs on full water. Archipelago and Warring Islands. The Loggia attack ships are the only unit you ever need to make until you make some bugged demo ships. And they're strong. They scale with blacksmith upgrades and incendiary, and they absolutely melt face when it comes to killing buildings in Imperial with that incendiary. Hybrid sees Rus winning many games because their scouts win the scout versus scout battle and kill your docks. And then even if their docks get killed, their boats can continue to gather food without needing to return to a drop-off point. It's really cool to see some of these unique mechanics for all of the 4 civs we've mentioned so far, and that Rus thing is also something that is unique to them. But altogether it leads to a strong civ that deserves to be called rank 2 to 4 in the tier list currently of the strength of the different civs. Okay, the next 3 are situational or average. Holy Roman, Chinese and English. English shines on maps like Lipany, King of the Hill, High View and Altai. Short rush distance map, some vision manipulation. Dry Arabia is kind of fine for them as well, but they have a little bit less terrain to hug in order to keep their longbows safe. English gets used in tournaments and on ladder is pretty close to a 50% win rate. They're strong in feudal. They've got fallback plans in Imperial, such as farms that generate gold. They have siege that benefits from the attack speed network of castles, so that even though they don't have much special siege units, and the trebuchet being the most special one with its upgrade, it doesn't work as intended right now, but they get that attack speed bonus on their siege, and that allows them to even win some springald or bombard fights that otherwise they may not. They have an above average men-at-arms with bonus armor, an above average archer in the longbow, and for the rest they're pretty vanilla, but their early pressure in feudal forces many to slow down their plans for the game, and this allows England sometimes to get a castle earlier and cheaper, and then they have extra villager production and they'll try to do another castle age push. English is for aggressively minded players, people that like to control the pace of the game, and it makes them valid on a number of maps. But you won't see many English players on full Wasser, hybrid Wasser, or French pass or mountain pass, or even hill and dale, as if when they can't do aggression against an opponent, they tend to fall flat rather quickly. The Chinese is a civilization with some of the most potential in this game. They have many different units, many different landmarks and dynasties, and even though the Fire Lancer got nerfed in the patch, they weren't as necessary for solo play, they were more of a pox on team play. They still have very high health bombards. They've got dynasties that give move speed or health to all military, which is insanely strong, and the Grenadiers are some of the most broken units in the game you'll never make, because of how expensive and far tucked away they are. Nest of Bees is worse than the Mangonel, but they are still able to be produced very quickly with the Imperial Official. Chinese can also quickly become aggressive via the Imperial Official supervision on barracks, stable or archery range, and as such they have pretty good flexibility, but they sometimes fall flat when it comes to sheer feudal battles, and they can have trouble to make it to castle or Imperial with the kind of greed that they're so capable of and that they so much need in order to be as effective. In a typical game of Chinese on an open map, into English you'll struggle with longbows, into French you'll struggle with the knights. You can respond to those of course, but you don't have as much going for you behind, and the Imperial Official necessity and high cost makes them very vulnerable to pick off and then destabilizing your entire game plan. Against Delhi, you'll need to respond to Sanctity Sacred Site caps and make more early units than you would like. You'd like to just sit back and turtle. Against Holy Roman, you need to worry about the relics and respond there. And Rus is going to bother you with scouts. Mongols, of course, bothers everyone. Still with Tower Rush and still with insane step readout gold mining. So it's not that Chinese aren't strong, but they do need to get past some stages of the game where others dictate the pace of the game a little bit more for the most part. But I still think they're the hardest civ to play, and there may be more possible from them than we are seeing right now. For now, I put them at rank 5, 6 or 7, shared with English and Holy Roman. Holy Roman is the best late game civ, because killing their villagers doesn't matter when they've got Swabia. Denying their gold doesn't matter when they've got Regnitz with 3 relics. It's the getting there part that's so hard. And that's a pretty short explanation about Holy Roman. They actually have really good early game, Dark Age, Feudal, Castle and Imperial economy. And so Holy Roman is kind of like the most broken Civ there is as well, with all that potential of their Recknitz Cathedral and Palace of Swabia. But people try to deny them relics. They try to wall in the Holy Roman Empire player, keep them in feudal forever, keep them in castle forever, fight them early and often, and prevent that build-up of resources to allow a quick castle and a quick Swabia. Think of it like this. If a Holy Roman Empire player gets 3 relics at the 8:30 minute mark, that is worth relatively much resources compared to the current economies. But if you let the Holy Roman Empire get 3 relics by 16 minutes, by then everyone's economy has already blossomed and mushroomed to something much greater. So the relative effect of the relics is much lower. Plus, they are getting it later, so they haven't been getting that bonus gold for so long. So every second and every minute that you can delay a Holy Roman Empire player to get those relics destabilizes their game plan and has them not dominating you with that massive war economy that the Holy Roman can bring about to bear. Sometimes Holy Roman is the most desired Civ on a given map, after Mongols of course. Certain maps like Boulder Bay or Hill and Dale. And so sometimes on a certain map they can be rank 2 or rank 3 in terms of strength. Overall, I'm gonna group them at rank 5, 6 and 7. This is also reflected in the win rates of Holy Roman Empire in the last tournament, which is our most recent high value metric. And then the ladder statistics also kind of back this up. They perform the best against more passive civilizations like Delhi, Abbasid and Chinese. And they struggle more into Mongols, French and Rus. They're strong, I'm not saying they're weak, but it kind of depends on the map. And at the end of the day, a tier list can't have everyone on rank 1 and 2. Finally, Abbasid Dynasty. They have a sub 50% win rate against everyone on ladder and against everyone in tournaments as well. This sounds pretty bad, but I still feel like they're the Civ with a lot of potential. They're the weakest of the 8, but if there was a 9th, I bet they'd be stronger than the 9th civilization. Unless of course it's sold in a DLC that needs to push sales, so everyone wants to buy it to get the strong OP new Civ. Abbasid, it has a number of cool things. Automatic bonus resource generation via the Golden Age. They also have mangonel building on the field. Overall, Abbasid is a cool Civ. Their bonus range of the spear even works on torches. So Abbasid can use spearmen pretty well into killing enemy siege from greater range. It's quite cool. Again, it's the fact that others tend to control the pace of the game in feudal against them that sees them fall behind. Give 2 Civs 15 minutes, no rush, and Abbasid is going to be one of the highest performers because of their fresh foodstuffs upgrade and Golden Age mechanic. But everything is just a little bit too slow. Aging up is a little bit too slow, getting the Golden Age is a little bit too slow, and being safe is a little bit too slow. That's why they're rank 8. Hope you enjoyed the tier list. I'll see you for the next one.